Nicholas had always been a man of ingrained habits and beliefs. Since he was a child, he believed in signs, omens, and the influence of destiny in his life. This superstition followed him into adulthood, shaping his decisions and the way he saw the world around him. Tall, with brown hair and green eyes, Nicholas had a captivating smile that contrasted with his cautious personality. He worked as an architect in a renowned office in the city, where his attention to detail and meticulous planning were highly valued. However, this same characteristic often prevented him from fully enjoying life's moments, always worried about potential twists of fate. His ex-girlfriend, Layla, was the opposite. Spontaneous and carefree, she lived every moment intensely. With long black hair and deep brown eyes, Layla had a free spirit that initially captivated Nicholas. During the year they were together, she tried to show him that not everything needed to have a hidden meaning, that sometimes things just happened. But there was one particular element that Nicholas couldn't ignore: a floral dress that Layla loved to wear. It was a simple dress, with thin straps, featuring a pattern of small blue flowers on a white background. For anyone else, it would just be a pretty and delicate piece of clothing. For Nicholas, however, that dress became a symbol of bad luck. The first time he noticed something strange was on a sunny spring day. Layla arrived for a date wearing the dress, radiant as always. They decided to take a walk through the city park, enjoying the good weather. Nicholas parked his new car, of which he was very proud, on a quiet street. When they returned a few hours later, they found only shards of glass on the ground. The window had likely been broken, and the car had been stolen. Nicholas tried not to associate the incident with the dress, but the seed of superstition had already been planted. A few weeks later, at a lakeside picnic, Layla showed up again in the floral dress. While they were taking pictures of the landscape, Nicholas's phone slipped from his hands, falling into the deep waters of the lake. He lost not only the device but all the photos and contacts that he hadn't backed up. The third incident occurred during a basketball game with friends. Nicholas was standing out in the match when Layla arrived to watch, wearing the same dress. The moment he saw her, he lost concentration, tripped, and severely sprained his ankle, leaving him unable to play sports for weeks. The breaking point came on the day Layla ended the relationship. She appeared at his apartment wearing that damned floral dress and said she no longer saw a future for the two of them together. Nicholas's superstition, according to her, was suffocating the relationship and preventing them from living fully. After the breakup, Nicholas immersed himself in work, avoiding going out or getting involved with other people. His friends, concerned, insisted that he start socializing again. It was thus that, on a Friday night, he found himself in a popular city bar, surrounded by a group of cheerful colleagues. The environment was cozy, with low lighting and ambient music. The exposed brick walls gave the place a rustic feel, while the dark wooden tables created an intimate atmosphere. The marble counter, where skilled bartenders prepared elaborate drinks, was the center of attention. Despite the pleasant setting, Nicholas felt out of place. The conversations around him seemed distant, as if he were listening through a bubble. They talked about work, relationships, weekend plans, subjects that, at that moment, did not pique his interest. He constantly looked at the clock, thinking of an excuse to leave early. Determined to leave, Nicholas began to say goodbye to his friends. It was at that exact moment that the bar door opened, and a woman entered who immediately caught his attention. Tall, with blonde hair cascading in soft waves over her shoulders, she had a radiant smile that lit up the entire room. Nicholas felt his heart race, something that hadn't happened for months. But then his gaze lowered and he noticed what she was wearing. A flowery dress, identical to that of his ex-girlfriend Layla. The same blue flowers, the same cut, the same sense of déjà vu that made his stomach churn. Superstition fought against the attraction he felt, creating an internal conflict that left him paralyzed. "Hey, Nick, come meet my cousin," called Tom, one of his friends. The woman approached the group, and Nicholas noticed that her eyes were a deep blue, like the ocean on a summer day. "Nicholas, this is Audrey. "Audrey, this is Nicholas, the architect of the group," Tom introduced. Audrey reached out her hand, her smile even more radiant up close. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Nicholas. Tom speaks a lot about his friends." Her voice was melodious, with a slight accent that Nicholas couldn't identify. He hesitated for a moment, looking at the dress, before shaking her hand. The touch was electric, sending shivers down his arm. "The pleasure is mine," he replied, surprised by his own husky voice. The conversation flowed naturally between them. Audrey was a literature professor at a local university, passionate about poetry and theatre. Her excitement when talking about the book she loved was contagious, and Nicholas found himself completely absorbed in every word. As they talked, the noise of the bar seemed to fade into the background. Nicholas almost forgot about the dress, focused on Audrey's lively gestures and the way her eyes sparkled when she laughed at his jokes. For the first time in months, he felt truly present in the moment. Suddenly, the music stopped, and one of the bartenders climbed onto a small makeshift stage. "Attention, everyone! It's time for our monthly raffle. The winner will receive a dinner for two at the new restaurant in town." Nicholas barely registered the announcement, still engrossed in the conversation with Audrey. It was only when he heard his name called that he realized what was happening. "And the winner is Nicholas Parker. Where are you, Nicholas?" Dazed, he raised his hand. Audrey hugged him impulsively, celebrating her luck. The contact with the fabric of the dress made him shiver, but not out of fear. It was a different sensation, as if something was changing within him. In the days that followed, Nicholas couldn't get Audrey out of his mind. They exchanged numbers and began talking daily. Each message, each call, made his heart race. When they arranged a second meeting, Nicholas felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. He arrived at the park where they had agreed to meet and saw her from afar sitting on a bench. She wore the same floral dress. For a moment, he hesitated. His mind was urging him to turn back, not to take the risk, but something stronger propelled him forward. Audrey saw him and waved, her smile lighting up the entire park. That day, they strolled hand in hand, talking about their lives, dreams, and fears. That afternoon, as they walked, he bought a lottery ticket from a street vendor, mainly to help the old man selling it. To his surprise, the ticket was a winner, not a fortune, but enough for a special dinner. The meetings between Nicholas and Audrey became more frequent, almost like a silent ritual they both looked forward to. As the days went by, Nicholas began to notice a curious pattern, something that initially seemed like coincidence, but gradually took on a special meaning for him. It was always when Audrey showed up in that floral dress, the same one he once considered a bad luck omen, that small pleasant surprises would cross his path, as if the universe was conspiring in favor of everything involving that woman. On a Saturday afternoon, they arranged to visit a small craft fair in the historic center of the city. Audrey appeared smiling, with her hair tied up in a casual bun and once again wearing the floral dress. They were walking among colourful stalls when Nicholas heard someone call his name. Turning around, he saw a familiar face. It was Daniel, an old childhood friend with whom he had lost contact more than 10 years ago. The reunion was warm and unexpected, and right there, they arranged a lunch to catch up. Nicholas left the fair with a warm heart and the feeling that some connections never fade. They just wait for the right moment to be rekindled. A few days later, facing a creative block on an important office project, Nicholas invited Audrey for an afternoon coffee, trying to distract himself a bit from work pressures. When she arrived, once again wearing the floral dress, Nicholas couldn't help but smile. During the light-hearted conversation full of laughter, Audrey mentioned, unaware of the anxiety consuming him, a literary metaphor about structures and harmony in classic poetry. That simple analogy sparked an idea in Nicholas's mind. Suddenly, the pieces of the project began to fit together mentally. He left that cafe with the draft practically ready in his head, surprising even his colleagues the next day with the clarity and originality of the proposal. Gradually, Nicholas began to rethink his old beliefs. Perhaps the dress had never actually been a sign of bad luck. Perhaps the bad events of the past were just coincidences he insisted on connecting to a simple piece of fabric. Now, every time he saw Audrey wearing that floral dress, he saw not a premonition, but merely the beauty of a common moment. And perhaps that was what he always lacked, seeing life with more lightness, without seeking hidden meanings in everything. After all, it wasn't the dress that brought good moments, it was Audrey, with her luminous presence and way of making everything feel lighter. Weeks turned into months, and the relationship between Nicholas and Audrey blossomed. She taught him to see beauty in small things, to embrace the unpredictable. With her, he learned to laugh at his own fears and to trust more in the natural flow of life. A year after their first meeting, Nicholas planned a special surprise. He took Audrey for a picnic in the same park where they had their second date. The sky was a bright blue, dotted with fluffy clouds that resembled cotton candy. Audrey arrived wearing the floral dress, and Nicholas's heart filled with joy upon seeing her. They sat on a checkered blanket, sharing sandwiches, fruit and laughter. Nicholas was nervous, but in a good way, anticipating what he was about to do. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Nicholas took Audrey's hands in his own. He looked deeply into her blue eyes, seeing reflected in them all the love and happiness she had brought into his life. "Audrey," he began, his voice trembling with emotion, "you have changed my life in ways I never imagined possible. You taught me to see magic in the everyday, to trust in the unknown. With you, I learned that true luck lies in loving and being loved." Nicholas then took a small velvet box out of his pocket and opened it, revealing a delicate gold ring with a blue sapphire, the same colour as Audrey's eyes and the flowers on her dress. "Audrey, would you do me the honour of marrying me?" Audrey's eyes filled with tears of happiness. Without hesitation, she replied, "Yes, Nicholas." As he slid the ring onto her finger, a flock of birds took flight from a nearby tree, their wings reflecting the last rays of the setting sun. To Nicholas, it seemed as if the universe was celebrating along with them. Hugging each other, they watched the sky transform into a starry blanket. Nicholas couldn't help but smile as he thought about the journey that had brought him there. What once was a symbol of fear had now become a talisman of love and hope. The floral dress, once associated with moments of bad luck, now represented the beginning of a new phase in his life. Nicholas understood that true magic wasn't in objects or coincidences, but in how we choose to interpret and live each moment. With Audrey by his side, wearing that dress that now symbolized luck and love, Nicholas felt truly blessed. The future opened up before them, full of possibilities, and he could hardly wait to live it one day at a time, embracing every surprise life might bring. As they walked back home, hand in hand and hearts united, Nicholas made a silent promise to himself. Never again would he let fears or superstitions stop him from living fully. With Audrey, he had learned that true luck lies in having the courage to love, to trust, and to embrace every precious moment of life. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.